Anthony Richardson. I just don't see it for the Detroit Lions. But there are people out there who love him. And I get it. There is, the cliche is his ceiling is really, really high. But his floor out of all these quarterbacks could be the lowest of all of them.
So let's talk about some quarterbacks that have been taken recently in the draft. How would you compare him coming out as a prospect along with Jalen Hurts?
He's more athletic ability, but Hurts had more of a resume playing with good teams
and had more success.
Yes, so, and Hurts won the second round.
He was a second rounder,
right?
That's where I get stuck on. I think he's a second-round talent. He's a second-round pick, but you then lose and you start to get into a situation where Philly is right now. After 3 years, they've got to rework Jalen Hurts' contract. They got to give him extension because you don't want to go into the last year. And, yes, I know you've got the franchise tag for 2 years, all that stuff. But you're looking at this going, well, if we're going to take Anthony Richardson, then somewhere 26 to 31 this year, because there's no 32 pick in the first round, that's where he should go so you can get that extra fifth year.
Right.
The Hurts thing, it's all the it factor, though. He's a winner.
Yeah.
Okay? He's a hard worker. Right. He is going to fight his way to not be denied.
But
I don't know if Anthony Richardson has any of these things. Well, and I don't really care how high he can jump as a quarterback.
Right. We don't know about the it factor per se on certain things, but about Hurts, and we mentioned before the Super Bowl that he never won big games. So
yeah, but he got the conference championship games. He's been to national championship games.
I agree.
Anthony Richardson performed pathetically against good competition other than Utah.
Yeah.
And that was the first game of the year, and I really start to believe the reason he did that because there was no film on him.
That's possible. That's definitely possible. Yeah. I think we're all in accord here on the show.
You can get caught up in the hype and you can get sucked in all you want. I think what clearly happened for the combine with the quarterbacks is I'd be shocked if as long as the Bears make a trade, which I think they will, I'll be shocked if Stroud and Young don't go 1-2.
Yeah, Stroud really helped himself if you believe in that stuff.
And Young, it's just going to be a matter of is his size and his height, is that going to be a detriment to a team? I'm not going to say it's a detriment to all 32 teams, but is it going to be a detriment to a team? If Houston looks at him and says, you know what, we want a guy that stands taller in the pocket, all right, then it's not going to be Bryce Young. Whoever would trade with the Bears, they may have that same situation. And then you're looking at, is it going to be C.J. Stroud 1 overall? Could very possibly be. I could see that happening, especially after he's shown in the biggest games. He's performed well against Michigan. I know he didn't win against Michigan, but he performed well. He performed well against Georgia. Didn't win, but performed well.
And look how Richardson did against Georgia. And both games were neutral fields, by the way. So
right.
You can take that out of the equation.
And so you're looking at it going, okay, it could be C.J. Stroud. It could be Bryce Young. Could be Will Levis. It's really going to be determined by what type of offense and what is it that you want from your quarterback.
Let me ask you a question. If you were to take one quarterback, who's your quarterback?
It'd be Will Levis for me.
Really?
Yeah. I think he's got as much upside. You look at what he did in 21, more than 22. For me, because he was banged up, he was injured a little bit in 22. I'm looking at the entirety of his resume, and I think that I like his mobility in the pocket. I like the fact that he does have the ability to get outside the pocket and make things happen with his feet. He's not as mobile as Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson or even Jalen Hurts, but he starts to get more on the Jalen Hurts path. But I love his accuracy and his strong arm.
I think the fact that Stroud showed that he can run when he has to and will be coached to do that in the NFL, I think he'd be my number one over Bryce Young, only because of the size thing, too.
You know, I think one thing that maybe happened this weekend is if the Colts are cool with taking either Stroud, Young, or Richardson, you know what that does? They don't trade with the Bears then.
Right.
And then somebody else below that trades. I mean, I told John earlier, another thing that happened, Stroud did well for himself this weekend. And if the Texans are cool with getting Young or Stroud, there goes another Bears trade partner.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then you are talking about, would the Raiders do it? Would the Panthers? And the farther you go down, the more picks they have to give up because their first-round pick this year isn't as good.
Right. The free agency, where these quarterbacks are going to end up, and, from the Lions' perspective, how many cornerbacks they select or they get in free agency is going to determine a lot of stuff. Here's an interesting comp, and you're going to say you're crazy, but it says Josh Allen completed 56% of his passes his senior year. Was that a bad pick by Buffalo? It was a crapshoot at the time, and it worked out well for him.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. He also had Brian Daboll, didn't he?
Yeah, and what's happened since he hasn't had Brian Daboll? Didn't have a great year.
No, he was still good, but he's not great. You're right. Richardson game tape shows a 3rd to 5th round guy who can't read defense or hit guys within 5 to 15-yard pass with any consistency, but can hit the deep ball off play action like any quarterback. That's true, but let's also remember, let's give Richardson the benefit of the doubt. He really didn't play much his first 2 years either, so he's had 1 year. So all of this is based on potential, right?
Okay, Trey Lance.
Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. There's a lot of misses. Anthony Richardson is this year's Malik Willis.
He's better than Malik Willis.
Yes.
He has more potential to me than Malik Willis. And I do like, what is he, 6'4"? The part of the problem I didn't like about Malik Willis was, one, he played at Liberty and didn't face that competition, but he was also a smaller quarterback. And I have an issue with a smaller quarterback.
Can we please stop with the where would you draft Richardson crap? I'm not a fan of Lions taking, but he's going top 5 and good chance 4 quarterbacks go in the top 6.
That would be great. I think that would be the ultimate Detroit Lions setup for this year's draft. 4 quarterbacks, which means that either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter fall in your lap at number 6, and you had to do nothing to get them.
If I had to do a mock right now, the top 4 picks to me are guaranteed.
Yeah.
And not in any order, but I think it's Will Anderson, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and that gives you the option of Carter or Wilson at 6.
And that's fine with me.